want to retain customers, don't spike up your brand spend. Spike up your non-brand spend. That is where people are a lot of times coming back because you're familiar with them. So monitor your returning transactions in your cold traffic. When you spike that spend up, you get more new and returning traffic rather than focusing on your brand campaign.
Hello and welcome to the Perpetual Traffic Podcast. This is your host, Ralph Burns, and this is the show where we share cutting-edge strategies in acquiring leads and sales for your business so you can acquire more customers, obviously, but more importantly, you can achieve your vision. And speaking of vision, today we have a Google visionary in substitute for the one that just pretends to be the Google visionary, which is Kasim Aslam. He is not here today, but in his place, our What's Working Now episode for this month. Pretty excited to have this guy here. Probably I would say, the preeminent Google Ads expert on the planet, if not the universe. Definitely the solar system. No doubt about it. None other than Solutions 8 co-founder, John Moran. Welcome back to Perpetual Traffic.
Thank you. Always good to be here. I like to call myself, I am the bug that is always in Kasim's ear. So I'll be a small replacement for him.
Well, I'm going to try and keep up today. The challenge sometimes with you is just keeping up with your brain. And there's a lot of synapses firing all at the same time. And I don't think it's necessarily just the energy drinks, but you just did like a 3-hour Google session before we got on this thing here. So you've already been, humming along. You're in fifth gear. I think you actually have 9 or 10 or 11 gears. But point is today we're going to, you're supercharged. So we're going to boil this down to a couple of big things. The problem with having somebody like John Moran on, when you're talking about what's working now, what's cool, there's so many things. So we're focusing on the most impactful things today. We're going to get into 2 incredibly impactful tactics, techniques, strategies on the Google Ads platform that you should start implementing today, especially if you're in e-com. But we also have some lead gen information there, which is something I didn't even know. I thought we had sort of given up on this in general, but no, John's figured out a strategy for that. But before we get into all that juicy Google goodness, do you have a nugget that you can drop on the Perpetual Traffic crowd here today? And before you start to reveal, I know this is a screenshot. Definitely head over to our YouTube channel. Go to perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube, and you'll immediately be able to see what John's talking about here, as well as in the 2 vital strategies that you need to implement on Google. So lay it on us here. Nugget number 1 for the John Moran episode.
Yes. So this is counterintuitive to most big brands. And I think that this nugget is something that people would really want to pay much more closer attention to because it actually solves 2 issues. It's a retention and also a win back that's probably happening with your business today that you don't realize. Long story short, because I'm working on being more concise with my words and slowing down.
This is the slowest I've ever heard you talk, by the way.
Oh my God, this is painful. I feel like I'm like a Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Hey guys. So
that was even slower.
So that hurt. So typically brands believe that their retention comes from a brand campaign, which means that most of their returning customers come from a brand campaign. This is even more true if you have a large amount of SKUs, like 3 or 4 or 5,000 SKUs. To break that mold, I want you all to look at a metric that you may not be looking at, which is the existing customers of your non-brand campaigns. For example, this is the last 7 days of a client that, and I can prove this with data, I will not rabbit hole, all of these shopping campaigns have not one branded term. We've taken a year to make sure that they are perfect. And they start off very, very well. But when you look at the amount of returning transactions in the last 7 days, my shopping campaign brought 2,000 new clients and 2,500 returning clients. My brand campaign brought 333 new clients and 751 returning clients, meaning that I have a higher ratio of returning in my brand campaign, but a higher volume of returning in my shopping because we are an instant gratification Amazon generation now. You want something, you pull out your phone, you Google it. That's it. You don't see something and say, I need a dog bed. I really hope the company I buy my medications from 6 months ago sells a dog bed. You don't care. You're looking for a dog bed. So a win back campaign is actually happening on your non-brand campaigns, sometimes even more efficient than your brand. You want to retain customers? Don't spike up your brand spend, spike up your non-brand spend. That is where people are a lot of times coming back because you're familiar with them. So monitor your returning transactions in your cold traffic. When you spike that spend up, you get more new and returning traffic rather than focusing on your brand campaign. That's the nugget.
That's a pretty tasty nugget. Is there, and you caveated this with if you have a lot of SKUs, does it work? And when you categorize that, a lot of SKUs, I'm assuming thousands of SKUs. Is there any sort of exceptions to the rule here? Okay, I have a dozen SKUs. You know what I mean? Like I just bought this mouthpiece thing for my workout. And they have like 12 SKUs, but then the campaign, I think, in the pet space that we're talking about has like thousands of SKUs. So like, is there any happy medium between the two? What are your recommendations there?
It's category based in a niche. Okay. So if you have 4 or 5 categories of products in a niche, like workout equipment, if you have, let's say, the apparel, the gloves, a chalk, whatever it is, when a person is looking to buy stuff, it usually doesn't happen all at once. Not usually. So if you're looking to be like, hey, I'm going to the gym, I need to get headphones, you have that. I need to get a sweatband, you have that. I need gym shorts, you have that. Now I need gloves, you have that. They're still going to search for things, but you can bucket your existing audiences and prioritize bidding for them on cold traffic terms so as to not lose them to another company that may have even more SKUs than you do that would retain that customer for longer. So bigger SKU brands actually are more of a threat to you if you do not focus on retaining and bringing back your existing customers when they want to purchase something. Very rarely do you bucket audiences of people like in display and spend $100,000 on them. People don't wake up one day and be like, dear God, I need to buy gloves because they increased their ad spend. That doesn't happen.
If only.
What they do is they are going to go, right? Yeah. If only we can, we're a genie in Aladdin. We can't control free will. Right. So that's what I think is responding to how they're going to be buying stuff, taking a look at, they're not going to be loyal to you, especially after their first purchase. Maybe even after their fifth purchase, they're not loyal to you. They're loyal to what they want, which is why Amazon does so well. So that's what's interesting is looking at, I need to work on retention. Don't look at your retention only strategies. Sometimes, majority of the time, if you have more than like 4 or 5 categories in a niche, your existing customers are going to have cold traffic terms that will be buying from you again because they find you again. They're familiar, they're comfortable.
So the key is the categories, really, because we always think, well, you don't want to spend more money on returning customers, but if they're buying the same thing over and over again, it's a supplement, for example, like you should be able to sort of pull them in with a minimal campaign, just on brand terms, but also relying on your email because you're just getting more of the same thing that you bought before. You're talking about, in the case of the workout example, is like, mouth guards are now a big thing, like sweatbands, like, chalk, weight belt, whatever it happens to be. The more categories they're related, when they actually search for those and they'll say, oh, I've bought that from that guy before. And then that's,
I had a good experience.
Yeah, I had a good experience. They delivered it on time. The mouth guard, the chalk works, whatever it happens to be. Now I'll get a weight belt from them. Yeah.
Yeah, and your email campaigns reinforce that decision too, which makes you more considered. Here's a good example. I have a company called Traveloop. We sell luggage. I had a person on October 18th buy a $1,000 piece of luggage. And then November 8th, they bought the cover for that luggage. It was a Bellagio by Bricks. They bought a Bellagio $1,000 piece of luggage. 20 days later, they type in Bellagio cover. I saw it in the back end of Shopify. They clicked on another UTM campaign and then bought the cover for it. They were going to buy it from somewhere else, but they bought it from me again. And I spent $2 to bring that person back for another $50 sale.
which is cool. Which, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
that's actually going to be one of our examples here when we get to after the break. The
That's
two
right.
big things here: hyper-segmentation and broad targeting with a harder gate. What the heck is John talking about there? We're going back to broad targeting. Anyway, we'll find out exactly how that will increase and enhance your business and scale and grow and get you to the next level right after this quick break. All right, so we are back with John Moran, the intergalactic Google traffic specialist of the planetary solar system, universal. I don't even know what I'm saying here. We're just going to make stuff up as we're going along. The point is like you're the guy to talk to about Google, and obviously, check out your YouTube channel. I know you guys are doing the You versus Google challenge right now. That's youversusgoogle.com. Check that out. We'll leave links in the show notes, but also check out John in his natural environment over at the Solutions 8 YouTube channel, which all our media buyers watch sort of obsessively as well. So kind of a good guy to have.
I have stalkers.
That's right. That's right. They're sort of a little bit spellbound, I think, when they say like, having him on Perpetual Traffic. So anyway, so let's knock this one out of the park. Your first one today is this hyper-segmentation thing. Tell us a little bit about that and how you've been using it primarily in e-commerce, if I'm not mistaken, or this is more broad industry-wide.
This would be broad industry-wide for specifically e-commerce.
Just e-commerce.
So any industry, right? Just e-commerce because it's standard shopping. And like my official title, Google kind of made it obvious that titles don't matter, like Performance Max, which is why my recommendation is to pause it because it doesn't max out your performance. And the hyper-segmentation of standard shopping campaign is where I think the industry is moving kind of towards. I'm kind of pioneering that with some case studies, but this is the big thing that I saw is that Performance Max does a decent job at getting you good visibility and kind of going after new and existing customers. Yada yada. We beat that horse to death. What I've been testing is a different variation of standard shopping down to almost like I've been calling them SPACs, single product ad campaigns, which is really what they are. And what I've been doing is kind of a 3-step process. Step 1, I take all of my products of a manufacturer into one standard shopping campaign, and I throw a bunch of traffic at it. Usually the bidding strategy is max clicks or like with a bid cap so I can gain that data. Or a low TROAS goal campaign, which is like a 50% TROAS in one standard shopping campaign with, let's say, 300 SKUs. I then find kind of what I call like the high-low, which is there's Pareto's rule always happens, especially just Google will force a Pareto rule. 80% of your sales will come from 20% of your items. So I take those 20% of my items and I break out individual standard shopping campaigns for them with a dedicated daily ad spend that is safe. So if you think about a campaign that spends $50 a day, that's easy. That's a simple campaign. Now get 10 of those. Now you're spending $500 a day. And the individual campaigns are not spending enough to be risky, but they're spending enough on that product that was more than what Performance Max was dedicating to that product. So when you look at a Performance Max campaign, everyone's done this. In the last 10 days, I sort descending by clicks, and I have one product with 3,000 clicks, and my next product down has 200. So you're like, man, I really wish you would diversify my spend and spend more on the products that are selling. We're forcing that to happen. And I can screen share here and give you an example of what this looks like. Yep. And so what you'll see here is I'm selling bricks primarily. I have a lot of products in this account. For just a dumb example of all the products that are available, I have 3,162 SKUs. So I have a ton of SKUs, and they're from every company you can imagine. Now, things like Dolce & Gabbana, the Samsonite, all the other ones. So I said, hey, when I ran all of them, all 3,000, bricks started to come out on top. So I'm running a bricks, what they call catch-all, which is the original. This is the campaign that I've used over the course of a few months to learn what sells and what doesn't. So this is that campaign here. You see how I have a high cost and conversions, and then watch the spend level. The cost kind of was reduced down. Now, still working fairly well here. This is where we kind of pulled a lot of spend back because we're getting ready for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But I was able to reduce a bunch of spend and break things out. So now that I've taken my standard shopping campaign and segmented them into multiple different standard shopping campaigns, I have now a product line in a manufacturer and that has one SKU with variants. And what this does is it allows me actually to crowdsource all of the quality search terms for all of the best performing products. Here's what I mean by that. In the last 30 days, when I look at my search terms for my bricks campaign as an example, you'll see that, and I'll just do this, search term contains bricks. So this is just consolidating to my campaigns that are running, not my Samsonite and the other stuff. So here, now I'll move my columns over, and what you're all, if you're hearing it in an audio form, I'm showing my search terms across all of my bricks campaigns. And we can see that someone types in bricks luggage. They click on an X collection and they buy those. They type in bricks luggage again, and a different person, they click on a Sienna and buy that. Someone types in bricks luggage, they buy a Ulysses. So I can see that the search terms are all the same, except for when they really want like something specific, which doesn't happen very often. They're looking for bricks luggage, and I'm saying, which one of my best-selling items would you like to see? And now I get to own also the search engine, which means someone types in bricks luggage, you'll see my Sienna, my Bellagio, my X collection. Why? Well, it's because I have my Sienna, my Bellagio, and my X collection running as campaigns individually. I'm entering in to multiple auctions in one Google Ads account by allowing these campaigns to all show up for the same search terms, and Google will give me multiple placements. So now I beat the manufacturer. I show up more often than anybody else. I beat Neiman Marcus. They're not even on the first part here, and this is me using high ROAS goals. I'm sniping these clicks essentially. And what happens here on a micro level is because I'm only spending $50 a day across a higher AOV type of account. If I spend $73 to make one sale, I get a 250 ROAS. If I spend $57 to make two sales, I get 1,000 ROAS. If I spend $32 to make one sale, that's 700 ROAS. Now, I actually made $2,000 yesterday. This is only showing 1,000 because Google sucks at attribution, which we already know that. I made $2,000 here, and I'm only running Google. There is no other traffic. There's no social traffic. It's just search and direct. That's it. So I know that I've actually made 2,000. This will show 1,000, but now I spent 500 to make 2,000. That's a 4x. And only 1, 2, 3 campaigns out of 11 had a sale, and I still 4x'd because I'm not going deep into a risk in any specific area.
So you're limiting your risk by the individual campaigns, but you're also maximizing the amount of like the coverage for any search term and all the variability that comes with those search terms. And by the way, if you're just listening to this, we will do our best to explain it to you in audio format, but I would highly recommend if you want to get deeper into this, go to perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube, and you'll see John's screenshot here as to how this is done. So you're limiting downside risk. It's almost like I look at this as like stock trading. It's like you have limit orders, and you have stop loss.
Well-diversified portfolio.
100%. But so the marketer in me says, well, once you get data here and you start seeing that, maybe just the generic term bricks luggage, for example, is the one that's bringing in the most sales, would you start scaling up that individual campaign, or would you just do like you'd have to gather data over the course of weeks? Like, what's your scaling step on this?
Yep. So because I actually like scaling small campaigns because they can react the fastest with the least amount of risk, you can see that every one of these campaigns, if I say like the X collection, it's limited by budget. Of course. but I can go to 180 without hitting a point of diminishing returns. Or I could take this Bellagio and I can go from 60 to 180 also without hitting a point of diminishing returns. Each one of these things going from 60 to 120, that's not a big move to Google. Now doing that 10 times for 10 campaigns, that's $600 more per day. So when you're looking at here, for example, since October 1st, I said, what if I put 100% more in ad spend into it? I got 137% more conversions. Those are now a lot less risky. So my ROAS actually got 7% better after I put 105% more budget into it. And looking at the back end, when I was looking at just the top line metrics, my sales in September were 32,000. My sales in October were 70,000. So I more than doubled my actual top line numbers. PMax usually doesn't do that. PMax is like, you made more sales. And we're like, no, we didn't. So this is actually realistically moving in the right direction because it's really low risk 10 times and with a very high amount of visibility into Google.
Fascinating. And this could be like, you don't really care about new and returning customers here. Going back to your first nugget, this could be new and returning customers, which I think you gave the example there of this particular business. But because it's such small budgets, it's like you're controlling it. You're really limiting that downside. But then you're obviously using the data to be able to scale up. And like that's doubling sales within a month. Basically using this strategy and this strategy alone, if I'm not mistaken.
And the best part is I have 3,000 SKUs from 25 different manufacturers. This is one.
Just bricks. Yeah.
One. Just bricks. So I said, hey, you know what? Let's do this again.
Let's
do this with Samsonite. So I did this and said, hey,
probably
let me grab
a smart
Samsonite.
Move. Yeah.
Right. Samsonite has 10 times the amount of search volume than Bricks does, according to Google Trends in Google's keyword planner. So I said, you know what? Let me start this campaign on the 3rd. And since the 3rd, what you have to be is good stewards of workload, which means don't be afraid to get in there and keep making a bunch of changes in the right direction. So since the 3rd, I made 483 changes. I am negative matching everything that is not Samsonite because I really want good placements for Samsonite like I have good placement for Bricks. So I'm excluding everything. I'm blah, 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 blah. So I have 70 negative keywords on the 7th. I have added another 30 on the 4th. I keep going in there and just hacking off everything that's not Samsonite.
And I notice a lot of those negative keywords are really top of funnel. I don't know what I want yet kind of searches. Like I want a bag that's this dimension kind of thing.
Yeah, 18-inch laptop rolling bag. Samsonite has one of those, but I'd rather show it for a person that wants to buy a Samsonite. So what's nice about that is as soon as I am on day 4 of my negative keyword saga, and added 400 negative keywords that weren't from the keywords that I wanted, that 5th day, yesterday, for example, I had 23 clicks total. I had 2 sales. So now my conversion rate is 8%. I spent $42 to make $612. Beautiful. So now Samsonite garment luggage, 1-click sales. Samsonite outlet. I have a sale that's permanent. I have taken my price. I've marked it up. I run a permanent 20% off sale that pushes me 10% below MAP, which is my limit. And now I, to direct response, always have the best sale at the best price for the shortest amount of conversion path, where 23 clicks makes 2 sales.
Wow.
Yep. So that's why when you look at Bricks Luggage, 20% off, 10% off, 10% off, 10% off, 20% off, 20% off, 10%. I am the only one running a sale. You see me everywhere for any type of search for all of the best performing products. If you're buying a Bricks from me on Google today, you're buying it from me.
Yeah. And we're looking at the screen here, and it's Traveloo, and it basically dominates the entire, shopping row. I mean, in essence, especially the ones when you don't have to sort of click to the right. So I've always sort of wondered when you're doing these sorts of things, we're looking at it on desktop. Do you cross-check everything on mobile as well to make sure that you're appearing there, breaking it out by device, doing like where does that enter into the equation here? Or are there certain purchases that you found in the case of like luggage, for example? That's a desktop purchase because I need to be in front, I need to analyze, I need to look at it. Like, do you give much consideration there? Okay. So there it is. Traveloo. Right. Yep.
Yep. I will. I actually take a harder focus on mobile. 35% of all my ad clicks, or 35% of all my conversions take 2 ad clicks or more to purchase. And it's usually a broad manufacturer search and then a secondary model search.
Right.
That's where the catch-all will win. If it's not one of my best performing items, that's my backup. So if you're looking for bricks and you click on the Bellagio and you find, the Ulysses or something like that I'm not actually having a dedicated campaign for because it doesn't sell too well. When you come back and you Google that specific one that you found on my site, that catch-all campaign catches you. So it's all based on direct response. And it's all based on, are you looking for one of the products that usually sells 80% of the time? That's what dominates the SERP on both desktop and mobile. Because I know that I'm going to get cross-pollination of that traffic between desktop and mobile all the time. And when these are $350 and $750 AOVs, you're probably going to have someone that will find you on mobile, then go to the desktop and purchase it. Because when you're buying $750 luggage, you're probably not a Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
So desktop is going to be a little more favorable.
Makes sense.
So I needed to show up for both those people as well. But yeah, that's the hyper-segmentation of standard shopping. And I just did it with bricks. We went from 30,000 down to up to 70,000. So what's funny is now this company, when this kind of continues, we're almost $1 million annual sales off of my first product line that I've done this with. And I'm going to go do it 25 more times.
I didn't notice this. Maybe I just missed it because it was quick on the screenshot, but like the search term for bricks, I would imagine you're showing up for that, just that unto itself, or that's not even a search. Like you have bricks luggage, you have bricks, a lot of different sort of variations, but bricks itself, somebody's looking for it because they want to go to the brick site is what I'm thinking, but you appear there as well, or is that not part of the strategy?
Bricks doesn't actually sell as well. I don't negate it, but I had probably 1 out of every 20 searches is just the term bricks. I think it's also because Google predictability. When you go to Google and type in BRIC''S, it says bricks luggage, and people just click on that. Yeah. So what Google is predicting is what people usually search for, which is what usually sells. If you type in bricks is good. What's funny is you can also actually type in bricks luggage, and I have a search ad that is also right underneath it. And I'll outrank a lot of times bricks themselves on search, primarily also on mobile. So what's interesting is I'll have a search and a shopping ad. My search ad, horrible performance. I even have the same. Like it's right underneath bricks. There's bricks luggage, 20% off all bricks products, Traveloo. I get tons of clicks on that. Barely ever converts. As I think that your buyers, when they make their buying decision, they look at that's the color, that's the size, that's the product, that's the price, that's the shipping, that's the discount. Yeah. And they pop it. I'll probably get some return traffic from the search, but search and shopping is a 6-to-1 ratio of conversions.
Interesting. Yeah. Plus it's a visual purchase too. I mean, there's that element to it.
Right. Well, why would you click on a shopping ad? You're looking for the product you want at the best price, period. That's it. Yeah. That's 90% of the battle.
And then not to be discounted here, but there is a discount.
So exactly. There's a permanent, what's funny is people don't even realize this. There's a permanent discount that I just have to keep updating every 6 months. And you're like the Brick Sienna spinner 170 with code. Oh no, it expires in 51 days.
Oh, is that where is that? How does that appear? Oh,
that's when you click on here.
The 170 with code. There's a hover pop that comes up and says 20% off bricks luggage, and then a couple through Traveloo. Got it. That's super sharp.
But you can even see that this sale is going to be around for the next 51 days. But people don't look there. And the sense of urgency is still there because my sales cycle is a 3-day window. Every 3 days, there's new people seeing my sale.
True. 100%. That is fabulous. So if you are an e-commerce business, or you're a VP of marketing or a director of marketing, and you're listening to this, have your people watch this episode over on YouTube, perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. This is an absolute gold nugget. And they can probably, depending on when we publish this, they might be able to get this in before Black Friday. I don't know. Colin, it's a little tight. Let's get into big John Moran tip on Google, or what's working now, number 2 here. And this is broad targeting with a harder, higher, more difficult gate. So let's talk about this.
Yep. Absolutely. So we've said before on our YouTube channel, in Solutions 8, that the keyword that is broad has less to do with the keyword language itself and more to do with where a person is at in their journey. You can type in a keyword that is a little bit more middle of the funnel, or a keyword that's a little bit more bottom of the funnel when you're looking for a service, specifically for lead generation. When you're looking to have a service, a lot of times you'll be typing in different variations of those search terms, and Google's like, we know this is your 7th time that you've been looking for this. We think you're going to convert. And it doesn't matter what that keyword is, they're going to show your ad. That's why Google recommends broad match only with smart bidding. So because broad match is not about the keyword anymore,
fascinating,
it's more about the
let's
user.
just stop right there. Like, that is absolutely fascinating. Like, because you've typed in 7 different words around this thing, and I know this business because we've talked about it before and how we're trying to like solve the, the lead gen issue. But it's like they know, like, this is how smart Google is. And I think we all forget. You guys intercepted the memo where it was 72 million demographic and psychographic profiling factors on every human on the planet. So like, and part of it is just your damn search behavior. So if you search for something in and around what we're going to be talking about here, I think it's metal buildings, if I'm not mistaken, 7 different times, you're in market, right? And they know that. Oh, yeah. So I know you kind of take that for granted, but just for the Perpetual Traffic audience, it's absolutely amazing. And then it puts you probably in different categories. It puts you in different audiences, for cold traffic, all these other sorts of things. So anyway, so go ahead with your tip here.
Yeah, you have a spy over your shoulder anytime you pull out your phone or anytime you go on. And people forget that spy is there because that spy is really good. But it's like if you had a person watching over your shoulder saying, why'd you look for that? Why on that website? What are you doing over there? Why are you watching that video? Like, that's literally what's going on right now, 24/7. Right. And then you get your car, you drive to a place, and then Google conversion tracking for store visits. Like, why'd you go there? Like, I mean, they know. Like, they know. Yeah. You typed in sports equipment, then you went to Sports Authority. We know what you're doing. Like, it's like having a private eye over your shoulder 24/7 and hooked into your pocket that you opted into. Good job, everybody.
Knowingly and willfully, because nobody reads the terms of service. So it's like your own damn fault.
You see terms of service, you're like, of course I apply. Yes.
Let's not forget, though, before anyone non-marketing listens to this, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is horrible how much Google knows about me. Well, actually, it's for your benefit.
Right.
They're just
the reason why you're liking NASCAR ads and videos is because Google knows you like NASCAR. Unless you want to receive Barbie ads, you're welcome.
Well, now that we've said it on this podcast, we're going to both get Barbie ads. But anyway, go ahead.
Probably. Yeah. As I'm on Chrome and said Barbie. Damn it. All right. So with that little spy, he is your friend, especially for an advertiser. So what Google is your spy that says, hey, we think this person is going to be looking for a big metal building that costs $250,000. Why? Well, he's done the same thing everyone else has done at around the same time. So we're going to bid for that person. Well, what they search is a good steel for building. Okay, well, I didn't want that. No, but they converted. So that's what's happening, is Google is pushing you in front of them at the point in the journey that you need to meet them, regardless of what they searched. Now, it's not always. Broad match can be really heavily horrible. It really, really, really can be. It's only really good when it learned, or when it's done learning. So I figured to leverage that. And what I did is I took 2 keywords, steel building, metal building. You can probably all imagine what I'm selling, big steel buildings, starting at $100,000. Not the Home Depot $2,500 metal building. This is a $250,000 building. And I ran those 2 keywords for years. Here, I'll share my screen here and you all can see this. the keywords
And this is on
that
search.
are enabled.
Search.
This is on Google search
only. So I'll try and find the episode and leave the links in the show notes. I think this is when Google Performance Max first came out. We talked about this before we hit record. We actually tried to figure out a way to get Google Performance Max to work for this customer with as many fields as possible to try and throw off the link, the click farms, and never were able to figure out a way. So forget Performance Max here, set that aside. We couldn't figure that one out. We still can't as far as like lead gen goes. And maybe that's a whole other episode if you've ever figured it out. But point is we're at a straight search campaign. This is, I hate to say, especially with now your adopted, perpetual traffic title here. This is stupidly simple.
Man. Yeah. I even, when I presented this to the client, I said, okay, don't fire me because this looks,
this looks like a great idea. I'll do 2 search terms, broad.
2 broad words, and I'm selling a $250,000 building. But I'm like, trust me, guys, this is not a dumb idea.
That's a testament to your trustworthiness as a media buyer, by the way, because most businesses be like, you're fired.
What's even worse? I started this in January 2021. I didn't track a conversion until September 2022. You know why? Because of the secret that I'm about to release to everyone. I tracked the CRM, so I knew who was coming in and if sales were happening. I didn't need Google to tell me that was happening. Actually, Google will know when a conversion is happening, even if you don't have conversion tracking installed. That's why enhanced conversions is a thing, by the way. Google knows what's happening. Your enhanced conversions, you send a form saying, hey, did this guy actually fill it out from Google Ad? And they respond, oh yeah, that was from us. I mean, that's what enhanced conversions is, and that's what's scary about it. Google already knows.
It's the little man looking over your shoulder.
Yeah. And for people to say, well, that's kind of outlandish and that's kind of stupid. But look into your conversions column instead of Google Ads and look at the thing called orders. This right here, how it works. You report conversions with cart data, blah, blah, blah. This, I actually have orders with campaigns that have never had conversion tracking. I have orders and revenue from campaigns that don't actually have conversion tracking set up. I was able to prove that like 2 years ago. Yep.
That's crazy. So make sure that you go to perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube because we are showing inside the Google MCC here. I've never seen that. That's crazy. But
crazy.
It's crazy, but it's not surprising.
Not far-fetched. Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yep. So the reason why this works, though, and you can see even back in like when I started tracking conversions in September 22, you see I'm looking at only my enabled keywords. And this is what's been running forever. Now, I've tried other keywords during some time periods, but I've always stuck with these 2. This was reactionary from the client. He goes, let's just try other keywords. That failed. So he's like, okay, let's go back. Like that's why these are still running today at scale. The reason why these work is because what I don't want to do is generate a lead that is of such low quality that none of my data is worthwhile and none of the clients and the client's company can't grow. So what I did is I put a bouncer at the front door, and that bouncer hooked you up to a polygraph test and asked if you really wanted to be here. And everyone that said yes was let in the front door. And I did that in the form of a heavily required high amount of fields form on the site.
Right.
So if everyone wants to see how this looks out there in podcast land, go to southwestbuildingsolutions.com and try to generate yourself as a lead. What you're going to see is I ask for your first name, last name, city, state, phone number, email, the city you want your building to be in, what is the length, what is the width, what is the height of the building you want to build, and how did you hear about us? Those are all required. Not just first name, email, phone number. Everyone needs to change their thinking. Majority of people, majority of agencies, majority of businesses say, well, if I put too many fields, I get less conversions. Yes, but the byproduct of that is I'll also get higher quality conversions. So I spend less, your sales teams work less, your sales teams are happier, and I can scale. So when you give them a good, when you put up the barrier to entry of saying, unless you really want to contact us with a high amount of, you need to give us a high amount of information before we'll let sales talk to you. It's a really weird switch. But what does that enable me to do? Everybody that passes through that form, and I can get back to Google, which I've now been doing for over a year, and I give that information back to Google. Google says, aha, those are the common denominators, and those are the conversion paths that person took. And it only watches the people I ask it to watch, which is almost as good as sales. Like rather than importing sales, I import almost like deal information. Like here's the person that bought from us. It's almost that high of quality.
Google is acting as a business development rep, like a BDR here. Like they're pre-screening qualified candidates, not wasting your time on the ones that are just the tire kickers that aren't going to buy, in essence, by doing this.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's exactly right. And we're talking about in down economies, in potential recessions, blah, 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 blah. If I look at this last quarter, I have 214 contacts that cost me $72 each. I spent $15,000 and I made $492K. It's a 3,000 ROAS. If I look at this year, I spent, and this is just, I'm not saying look how good I am. I'm saying look how solid and consistent this is. This year, last year, this quarter, doesn't matter. I rarely will dip under a 3,000 ROAS or 3,000 ROI or 3,000 MER, whatever you want to say. I put in 50 grand, I make 2 million consistently. So what this did though, is that since my broad campaigns can go so broad, meaning that I can show up with these two keywords for 88,174 search variations, but then they all have to jump through one big hoop before we can contact them. I can scale.
That's why you need to go broad.
And I'm only in Arizona, by the way.
Oh, this is only in Arizona.
I'm only in Arizona.
Interesting. Okay.
Just Arizona. So when you look at the locations, this is just, I wish I could, can I click on the campaign? There we go. This is just Arizona. So I'm showing up for all of these different variations of searches. I'm spending now $500 a day. I'm still getting $70 leads. And these people, when they come through, I call them the Glengarry leads. The Glengarry leads, when you look at these contacts, no matter which one that you fill out, the last 798 all have jumped through that hoop. And so you can click in any lead at any point in time. And if there's ever any issue with anything, what I mean by that is, these leads aren't closing. Really? Because they came in and said they wanted one equestrian riding area, shade structure, 90 width, 60 length, 16 hood, no size, 2 shop garage. You're telling me that your team can't close that when they literally gave you everything under the sun, and plus where they even want the plot of land to be, where to build it. This is not a me issue. This is now a you issue. And it cost me $70 for this lead. And that's why I clicked in the first one I saw. This happened when? This one happened 2 days ago.
This. Like your problem isn't your Google ads, really. It's probably your sales team.
Right.
So we're just taking a peek into the HubSpot, into a HubSpot record, a CRM record.
Yep.
And you could see all the individual details. And like the more details that you get, the more qualified that lead is going to be. Or the more they're self-selecting into the whole process by seemingly putting this high fence up in front of you in a very broad, it's two different strategies here. It's going very broad, but then it's having a very high fence, and, so that they have to jump over that. But once they jump over that fence, your salesperson who is on the other side of the CRM should be able to close these things, especially at average order value. You said is what, $250,000 in most cases? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crazy cool.
And so that's what's interesting. And everything I can see, ads activity.
Metal building.
Nailed it.
But you have no idea what variation. You could track that one back, though, inside Google Ads. You could know, instead of saying, oh, well, maybe it was just metal building. Was that the actual keyword? It was metal building.
No, it was probably like steel building structure or something like that. But they're all, what's funny is I would want all of those ads exact. Based on now what Google is showing me for, if I had to redo this all over again, I would have taken 2,000 search terms that are all very minor variations of each other an exact match. But what happens is my CPC is now 3 times higher than I want it to be. So I'm paying for exact match.
Right.
And I'm getting the same thing. So I'd cut my ROAS down to 1,000 rather than 3,000. The funny part is here's a bonus for everyone, is the reason why I have a really good relationship with this client is because I have given their sales team the Glengarry leads now, and then also have built an automation so that their sales team never drops the ball without management knowing. And I built that inside of HubSpot. So this is a bonus for everyone if you're going to be doing this. This is a new lead flow I built yesterday, which is a small variation of it. But long story short, and I know the podcast is not going to want to hear me talk about a CRM tool build out, but what I'm doing is as soon as a lead comes in, I notify management that a beautiful lead has just landed in their lap. It rotates between 6 salespeople, auto emails autoresponder to the person, sends also a text to them saying, we have your information. You are going to be contacted ASAP. And then every single time a property value is changed, the management is known about it. Hey, that lead isn't qualified. We got to figure out why. That's my issue. Hey, that lead's qualified. You have a sales team that's working a qualified lead for $250,000 today. Or, hey, it's been 30 days. It's been 30 days. This lead's not been marked as qualified or non-qualified. I notify Steve, their boss.
Gotcha, sales guy.
So if I hand you the Glengarry leads, you don't get them. So it's the same thing. It's basically, I call it the Glengarry model, but it is a beautiful lead at scale using 2 little piddly-dink keywords, but a high barrier to entry before they're allowed to talk to us.
And a smart back-end CRM too. Like that flow right there. We know, like, we're in the services-based business. Like that, the flows are everything. But you actually, did you build that sort of that catch there in that last section as to whether or not they a good qualified lead hadn't been contacted and you notify their boss through HubSpot? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had a meeting with Steve and Scott, the 2 owners, or the owners and managers. And that what's funny is you'll see when I started this was actually created on November 8th by John Moran. Like I built the whole workflow. And that's the thing too, is I know that if I drop something, here's the best part is for all of your advertisers out there, this solidifies you as the most important person in that company, the people that can generate the lead and manage the sales team or notify management if it's not working. And you're probably charging like $3 or $4 a month. Like you couldn't hire 3 people to do the same job.
You're somewhat over delivering on service, but
exactly.
Like really, I mean, it wasn't beautiful. That. I mean, setting up flows inside HubSpot is not the most time consuming thing in the world, but it's absolutely essential.
Crazy
valuable. So, I think if you have this sort of flips the script, I think, on like how I've thought about Google specifically for, multi-numeral, however many, like it's 21 fields. I think you have another customer that actually you have to fill out like a 3D model for this, like more barriers. And then that makes the sale so much more valuable for them, obviously. But because you're matching, it's almost like you've got this tiny little window with this very, very, this is the epitome of like a huge broad funnel that goes down to this tiny little narrow funnel at the end, where out comes the Glengarry leads on the bottom of that. And then it's just a matter of your sales team just closing the stuff.
Yeah. And what's interesting is this is the reason why I like this model, counting that high barrier to entry, is you can scale it, really without hitting a point of diminishing returns, because you're not changing the structure. You're simply just throwing more gasoline on the existing fire. I know that sounds really easy to say, but as a quick example, this is that one client that has to, and I'll just share screen so y'all can see this. But in here, this is November 2021. And I'll just do cost and then conversions. We had, $2,800 for 50 leads in November of 2021. So 2 years ago. This last month, we had $200,000 in spend and 1,200 leads. Like the conversions, the red line, it was outpacing the blue line of cost at scale. And when you look at this here, if I just take the last 30 days, you'll see the only conversion action that I count last month, I spent $170,000, got 1,000 leads, And these 1,000 leads, besides the calls from ads are only 50, 958 of them are that design tool submission. That's it. They have to go to a website. They have to design the island, pick the countertops, pick the cabinets, pick the appliances, pick the appliance layout, get a 3D rendering of it, see that it's $18,000, and then say, yes, have someone from sales contact me. Here's my information. I can't pray for those leads. Like, if this is even in real life, like when walking in, are you looking for something? No, I'm just looking. Like now it's just, yes, I'd like to have that one with a 3x5 with granite countertops in black. It's going to be 20 grand. Sounds good. Oh my gosh. Like Perfect. This is Perfect. Amazing.
Yeah. So with both of these campaigns, can you start them? If I'm a business, I sell, these are large sales, like $250,000, mm-hmm. Like a kitchen might be $50,000 to $500,000, depending on, what size kitchen you have. Mm-hmm. Do you start small in these regional areas? Like you said, for the metal building company, we will leave links in the show notes for all of this, of course, is you're at $500 a day. Did you ramp that up from a much lower spend to get the algorithm
50.
to, okay, so you started with 50. Did you go 50 for that entire, like for a year period of time? Like when did you start scaling up and then tracking the conversions through the form? How long did that take?
Yeah, so we actually, for the first year, we bounced around between 50 and 150 based on their volume. Now, they're a team of 6. Takes about 6 months to build a building. They could do about 5 buildings at once. Slower season, we ramped up cost. The busier season, we pulled back because we had a they wanted to say, I always want to be booked 6 months in advance. So we were able to kind of throttle that. Now, as their team grew, they bought a new office. It's actually only 25 minutes away from me. That's why I like working with them, is I can show up and be like, what's going on, guys? And we can fix things. It's been great. So they're in Arizona, same as me, right down the street. But as our team grew, the only time I've actually ever ramped up was in this last 3 months, which is went from 60 to 200, test that for a month. Everything got better. And then went from 250 to 500. And that's been keeping me within about a 10% CPA difference. So it went from like $65 to $75, and then it's been hovering between 60 and 75 just per day, basically. So it ramped up without hitting a point of diminishing returns, just like what RTA did.
Right. But knowing that those qualified leads are coming in the door, all right, that's going to turn into cash in 6 months or whatever it happens to be. It depends on what their financing terms are and how long it takes to close the sale and get the equipment and the materials and all that sort of stuff. But it's usually the early indicator is that form fill with that very specific information that goes into HubSpot. That's going to turn into a sale.
Right. And that's what's nice too, is there's $70 leads and a $250,000 building. If you get 10 of those, it only costs you $700. I mean, it's pretty inexpensive when you're talking about the ROI on it.
That is outstanding. Well, that I think proves a lot of people wrong that say that you can't sell high ticket. Most people say high ticket is like a $10,000 product. This is extremely high, $250,000. Obviously, kitchens as well, which can be even more than that. So
$18,000 AOV actually, because they're outdoor kitchen kits. They're kind of pre-built.
Well, I bet you it could be done for, for high-end kitchen redesigners. Like there's so many different ways in which this strategy could potentially work. So,
what's nice too is to give you kind of a small little indicator. This is the reason why I like this. Is if we look at what's last quarter? It was at like July through September.
Yep.
I don't know. We spent $687. That was our total cost, $687,000. If we go into our deals, this is our RTA daily dashboard here. If we go into our deals, and we look at the date range of last quarter, we made 6.4 million. So it's a 10x even at scale from a course of over 2 years. It's beautiful. I love it when you don't have to worry about positioning and keywords and match types. If you don't have to worry about that, scale's easy, right? I mean, it's not like, you're not going to pay any more for these people. You're not going to get a better position. You're not going to have to change targets. You're not going to burn an audience like, hey, would you like more of the same? That's what broad can get you.
And it's a cinch to manage, I would imagine.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't tell anybody, but I haven't touched Southwest Billing Solutions about 6 months.
I was about to say, how many minutes are you spending on it a day? Like, you just spent more on this podcast in that account than you have the last 3 months. Come on. Tell us the truth.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is they pay me to know what buttons not to press.
Which is just as valuable. Absolutely. Nobody can take that over. So anyway, this has been awesome, man. As always, you bring the goods to PT here. Really appreciate that. Of course, where can people find you? Where is the best place to find John Moran? Is it just Solutions8 or Sol8.com or like YouTube channel?
My LinkedIn, actually.
All right.
Yeah, my LinkedIn. I've been focusing more and more and more on LinkedIn. But if you go to LinkedIn and search for John Moran and type in like Google or something like that, usually I pop up. I have like 10,000, I guess, like followers on LinkedIn. I post about 1 to 4 times per month, and because I don't like the attention, I like sharing. All of my posts are case studies with results. It's not a like, love on your business and it'll love you. I don't care. I'm really like, the things that I share today, press that button, do this, go here, measure that. That's what I love. It's just, I'm having a blast.
Super tactical. All right. We'll leave links to all of that, and make sure that you, not only check out all of this, is like your 3rd or 4th time, I think, on the show here. We'll also leave links to those things. And I think you were when Performance Max came out, I think you came on the show like within the first month of it coming out. And that's really changed. We could do a whole other episode on your thoughts now on Performance Max. We'll definitely have to have you back. But oh man, whole other conversation. Don't have enough time to talk about it here today. So I really appreciate y'all listening here today. Once again, plug in the YouTube channel because it's a highly visual episode here. Check it out at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and leave a rating wherever you're listening. Follow John Moran, Google search. We'll leave a link to that in the show notes over on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn as well. That's Ralph Burns. I think we're pretty much the only Ralph Burns on LinkedIn. I'm the only Ralph in digital marketing. Somebody said that the other day. So
that makes sense. I like to say I'm the only John, but there's oh my gosh. Johns. For some reason, it's a really popular thing to be named after the toilet.
It's true. Well, Ralph is actually after puking, but anyway, that's a whole like 1980s thing. Yeah.
Well, Ralph and John go really well together then.
Ralph into the big white John. And then, of course, you can follow Kasim on Twitter and all the other socials. He's at Kasim Aslam. There are other Kasims in the world, but there's only one at Kasim Aslam. So check that out. Like I said, all resources and show notes over at perpetualtraffic.com. We'll leave links there. On behalf of my awesome guest, John Moran, today, until next show, see ya.